Welcome. Thank you. So welcome to this tribute to Amiri Baraka here in his home city of Newark, New Jersey. When he was here in 2012, I made a comment that Newark was a special city, not only because it had Amiri Baraka, but it had a town councilman who was a poet. And now it's a city that has a mayor who's a poet. His son, Raz Baraka, is the mayor of Newark. And part of what that's a reflection of is Baraka, Amiri Baraka's commitment to his birthplace, to the city of Newark. After he became a national celebrity, an international figure on the art scene, a revolutionary figure on the art scene, he came back home. And what he did once he came back home was become a member of his community, a supporter of his community, an advocate for his community, which included not only his neighbors in Newark, but the United States and the world. But part of what he did here was to encourage and mentor young poets, musicians, artists. There were readings and celebrations and performances in his house here for decades. The number of young poets who he mentored, encouraged, generations of poets who come to Newark on pilgrimages to meet him, generations of poets born here, visual artists who he supported. He was a visual artist, for those of you who don't know that. His love of jazz and blues and American music. If you have not read Amiri Baraka's essays on the evolution of American music, you should go out and buy them. They are an education in why American music is what it is. He's a brilliant, brilliant musical scholar. But the lineup today represents the kind of depth and breadth of the reach of his impact and his influence. Because what we have tonight, this afternoon with us, is a range of poets laureate and local poets who know him from the neighborhood. So we're going to hear some national figures, international figures, neighborhood figures, people who know him in all kinds of contexts. And the real focus of this is to get his poems back in the air. Before he fell ill, he had agreed to come back to this festival, which would have been his 6th appearance at the Geraldine or Dodge Poetry Festival. He was at the first one in 1986. He had a long relationship with the festival, and once we learned he would not be returning, he could not, he had passed, we thought it was only fitting that one more time we should hear his poems in the air. So you're going to hear them in the voices of poets whose work has influenced, who've been influenced by his work, whose work impact, whose life and legacy mattered to. So we're going to start this celebration of the work and the life of Amiri Baraka with Rita Dove.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It is a rare and wondrous thing for a poet to get a rise out of our dozing populace. And whether one agreed with Amiri Baraka's politics or not, his ability to rouse the complacent and disgruntled alike from their respective torpor was as undeniable as his artistic fervor. It's impossible to imagine American poetry without his fiery presence and his piercing poems, which then in turn enabled many younger poets. I know that in my early days as a writer, he provoked me to wrestle with my sense of who I was, with his powerful, radical aesthetics as well, and to find my very own voice. So I am grateful to him for this incitement. He woke me up. And I'd like to start, since I am the first, I thought I would start with the first poem of Amiri Baraka's, then Leroi Jones, which woke me up. Preface to a 20-volume suicide note for Kelly Jones, born 16 May 1959. Lately, I've become accustomed to the way the ground opens up and envelops me each time I go out to walk the dog. or the broad-edged silly music the wind makes when I run for a bus. Things have come to that. And now each night I count the stars, and each night I get the same number. And when they will not come to be counted, I count the holes they leave. Nobody sings anymore. And then last night, I tiptoed up to my daughter's room and heard her talking to someone. And when I opened the door, there was no one there, only she on her knees, peeking into her own clasped hands. I can't even begin to explain how incredible that poem felt for me, and so I went out and got that book, and I devoured it, actually. I'd like to read the last poem in the book because I think it's a stepping stone. He's announcing things for the dead lecturer in it. That last poem is called Notes for a Speech. And it's complicated and it's complex, and it wrestles with all these questions of multiple identities and responsibilities that all of us have. Notes for a Speech. African blues does not know me. Their steps in sands of their own land, a country in black and white, newspapers blown down pavements of the world, does not feel what I am. Strength in the dream, an oblique suckling of nerve, the wind throws up sand, eyes are something locked in hate, of hate, of hate. To walk abroad, they conduct their deaths apart from my own. Those heads I call my people. And who are they? People to concern myself, ugly man. Who you to concern the white flat stomachs of maidens inside houses dying. Black, peeled moonlight on my fingers move under her clothes. Where is her husband? Black words throw up sand to eyes, fingers of their private dead. Whose soul, eyes in sand? My color is not theirs. Lighter, white man talk. They shy away. My own dead souls, my so-called people. Africa is a foreign place. You are as any other sad man here, American. He did not shy away from talking about all the things that we hide inside ourselves, and the shameful doubts and secrets. And I'll end with this very short poem from the dead lecturer, because you say, you know, why did he give so much of himself all the time? And this, I think this poem tells you why. Titles. My head is a fine tangle. My soul, a quick note settled in the flesh. There are so many lyrics, so many others who will not understand. I will say this to you, though. It is not as if there were any more beautiful way.
Wow.